You and I, we speak thousands of words every single day. But have you ever stopped to think about what actually happens to them? I mean, where do they go once they leave our lips? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and explore the unseen mechanics of language. We're talking about the fundamental rules that give our words this hidden physical life. Right? So, what does happen to a word after you say it? Poof, it just seems to vanish. But where does it go? It's a surprisingly deep question, and it's going to be the start of our whole journey today as we hunt down the answer. So, to figure this all out, we're basically going to follow the entire life of a single spoken word. We'll start with the physics of how it's even made. We'll trace its journey from just a thought into an actual sound, follow it as it travels out into the world, and then we'll witness its vanishing act. And at the end, we'll ask the big question, why does this elegant bit of magic even matter? Okay, first up, the physics of speaking. And don't worry, we're not talking about quantum mechanics or anything crazy here. We're talking about the basic core features that make spoken language actually work in the real world. And it turns out there are 5 key properties that are kind of like the laws of physics for speech. Just 5 simple but really powerful rules that shape every single conversation you ever have. All right, let's start at the very beginning of a word's life, the moment it's born. This is where we go from a simple idea floating around in our heads to a real physical event out in the world. So our first property is something called specialization. And it's pretty cool when you think about it. When we speak, our bodies are doing something incredibly specific. You know, our lungs, our vocal cords, our mouth, they're all being used for one single purpose, sending a message. That's it. Okay, think about a cough, for example. It uses a lot of the same body parts as speech, right? But a cough is just a reflex. Speaking, that's totally different. It's not a reflex, it's a deliberate act. We're intentionally sending a signal. So in that sense, speech is a purpose-built tool. So how does that signal actually get sent? Well, it's through something called the vocal auditory channel. You can think of it like the physical highway our words travel on. They go from our vocal tract, zip through the air, and land in a listener's ears. It's basically the essential infrastructure for every single thing we say. Okay, so our word has officially been born. Now it's time to follow its journey out into the world. Let's see how it actually travels and connects with people. And this brings us to a really fascinating property, non-directionality. See, unlike pointing at something or even looking at someone, a spoken word isn't aimed at just one spot. It actually radiates outwards from you in all directions. You don't need to be making eye contact for someone to get the message. The best way to picture it is like dropping a pebble in a pond. The sound waves, the ripples, they spread out in every direction. And literally anyone who's within earshot can receive that message. And that's exactly what makes speech so incredibly efficient. You can get the attention of an entire room just by opening your mouth. But what happens when those ripples actually reach someone? Well, that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, reciprocity. Because think about it, language isn't a one-way street. It's not just a broadcast. It's a system where anyone who can hear a message can also produce one. We're all both speakers and listeners. It's this beautiful, constant feedback loop. I speak, you listen, and then, boom, in an instant, you can become the speaker, and I'm the listener. This is what turns communication into a conversation, a dynamic, two-way dance of sending and receiving. So we've seen a word get born, and we've followed its journey. But you know, all spoken words have a pretty short lifespan. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most poetic, stage of its life, the vanishing act. And this is our final property, rapid fade. This, right here, is the answer to the question we started with. Spoken language is temporary. The sound waves just dissipate. The energy vanishes. And the word is gone almost as soon as it's spoken. By its very nature, it's designed to be fleeting. And this becomes super clear when you compare it to, say, the written word. A book, an email, a text message, that stuff can last for centuries. You can go back and read it over and over again. But a spoken word? Nope. It exists only in the moment. It's designed for immediate consumption, and then poof, it's gone. Okay, so we've followed the life of a word from start to finish, from birth to its vanishing act. But why does any of this matter? Let's zoom out for a second and just appreciate the seriously elegant design that's hiding behind our everyday chats. So let's put it all together real quick. We've got specialization, the fact that speak is purpose-built. We've got the vocal auditory channel it travels on. There's its non-directionality, spreading out like ripples. The reciprocity that makes conversation a two-way street. And finally, its most crucial feature, rapid fade. These 5 things, they're the unseen mechanics behind every single word we speak.
And here's the key takeaway. These features aren't just random quirks. They all work together as this beautifully designed system. They make spoken language an incredibly efficient, immediate, and interactive tool. It's perfectly suited for face-to-face communication. It's a tool that's been honed over thousands of years for one thing: connection, right here, right now.
But this leaves us with a really fascinating modern question. In our age of voice memos, podcasts, and devices that are always listening, our spoken words don't have to vanish anymore, do they? So is one of the most defining features of language, that rapid fade, is it actually disappearing? And what could that mean for the future of how we all communicate? Something to think about.